Hi students, and welcome to another Mr. Ness screencast. Here are your objectives. Please pause the video, look these questions over, and get ready to copy some vocab and take some notes. The first term is overpopulation, the point at which population exceeds carrying capacity. And carrying capacity means the availability of resources in an area. So overpopulation means the point at which there are too many people and not enough resources. Please be very careful with this term. It's more complicated than it looks. I find that students have a tendency to think that countries are overpopulated if they're either poor or if they have too many people, whatever that means. But neither of those is true. Let's start with the claim that poverty equals overpopulation. In our modern globalized world, we have enough resources to sustain everyone on Earth. And we could sustain everyone on Earth if we chose to, but we choose not to. My point is that the allocation of resources is more dependent on politics and power than it is on population size. And to the claim that overpopulation equals a lot of people, there are places with small populations that lack adequate resources, like a village in a desert. And there are places with enormous populations that have plenty of resources, like China. So please be very careful with how you use this term, especially if you're applying it to the world today. Someone who talked a lot about overpopulation was this man, Thomas Malthus. Malthus was an 18th century English demographer who warned that population growth would exceed food supply. Malthus lived in England during the Industrial Revolution, and as you learned earlier, there was a huge population growth in England at this time because of the agricultural revolution. Malthus saw the population growth and he got very worried. He was worried because the population was growing geometrically or exponentially, but the food supply was growing arithmetically or linearly. Take a look at this graph. Geometric growth looks like this line, the population line, which curves upwards rapidly. If you like math, this is an equation like y equals 2 to the x. But Malthus saw that the food supply was only growing arithmetically or linearly. That's this line here. And that is a line something like y equals x. And Malthus noticed that when the lines crossed, the population would exceed food supply, meaning there would be too many people and not enough food. And the result, he warned, would be famine and starvation. Whenever you talk about Malthus, you should only think about these two factors, the number of people and the amount of food. Malthus was not talking about water or land or any other resources. It's just a relationship between food and population. Now look at this graph of world population over time. There were very slight increases before 1800. And then, boom, the world population exploded, just like Malthus predicted. So in that sense, he was correct. Since the year 1800, population has grown geometrically. But in many other ways, his warning did not come true, and later you will learn some reasons why. Neo-Malthusians are people in the modern world who share Malthus's concerns about population growth and argue that action should be taken to slow it. Anyone today who believes that government should take action to slow population growth is called a Neo-Malthusian. This book, The Population Bomb, was published in 1968 by the biologist Paul Ehrlich. Ehrlich was a Neo-Malthusian. He warned that population growth was going to lead to famine and catastrophe. This book was very sensational and scared a lot of people. Just take a look at this cover. with a cute baby about to explode in a bomb. While you are reading these words, it says, 4 people will have died of starvation, most of them children. It sounds terrifying. But here's my problem with this book and with Neo-Malthusians in general. Ehrlich was white and his audience was white. But the countries with high population growth weren't the ones with white babies like this one on the cover. The countries with rapid growth were all in Africa and Asia. So this book convinced a lot of rich white countries to spend money on programs designed to get women in poor black and brown countries to have fewer children. You'll explore this controversy more in your essay for this unit. Now it's time to review the objectives, and if you don't know the answer to any of them, rewind the video and look again. See you in class.